Hello, everybody. This is Lynda West with Living Live with Lynda, and I'm so excited to be here today with Rommel. And I didn't ask you how to say your last name, but I'm going to assume it's Cabal.
You got it right.
I did! Yay!
Yeah.
Did I win? What do I win?
Awesome. High five. You ran a high five. A virtual high five. I'll give you a high five later today.
So it's so good to have you here. Now, Rommel and I are in a program together called Success Circle, Stegula Success Mastery Program, and I met him there, and we were talking a couple of weeks ago, and masterminding, and he was talking about launching his business, Startup Life Hacks, and I was like, what is that all about? And I just really love what your mission is and how you got to be here. And so I wanted to interview him to share him with you guys so you can learn what it is he's doing and you can hear what he's doing so you can see if there's some way that you can work with him or if you know anybody that can work with him, because it really is awesome. So Rommel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Lynda.
It's so great to have you. So we have Startup Life Hacks. So I wanted to I'll pull our names down. Startup Life Hacks. So first of all, how did you come up with that name? And second of all, how did you get into this type of work? And what do you do? I guess we should start with what you do.
What do I do? Okay, so the name, I kind of just thought about it, and I just got so lucky with the URL. It was available, and so I just quickly grabbed it. I'm kind of like a hoarder for URLs.
Oh my God! How many do you have? You know how many you have?
I don't even know. Over 10.
Oh, okay. I have more like 60.
More like 60? Oh, wow. So you're worse than I am.
Well, see, anything I think of, the first thing I do is to go see if the URL is available.
Uh-huh.
And then I go buy it. Because I actually had this happen before where I thought of an idea. I went to see if the URL was available. It was. I waited a day, and when I went back, it was gone.
Wow.
So be careful with your URL. Okay, so anyway, sorry to...
Okay, back on track.
Okay, yeah.
So the way I got started with Startup Life Hacks is essentially I crashed the course in entrepreneurship. I wasn't even supposed to take the class because I was an engineering student, but the teacher allowed me to take the class anyway. And so towards the end of the semester, we had this group project where we had to interview entrepreneurs around the community. And so I went to one of the first startups that I worked with, which is Robo 3D, and interviewed them. And after everyone started presenting their findings to the entire class, everyone's eyes just started to light up with ideas and oh, I could do it too because these guys have done it a few years ago in the past and look at where they are now. And so telling these stories to all these young entrepreneurs, that's what I wanted to do. And at the time, I was just binge listening to a bunch of podcasts, including Entrepreneur on Fire, Smart Passive Income, School of Greatness. And so I just decided to start my own. And that was the birth of Startup Life Hacks.
And, that's a great point because I wrote down, I like to take notes every once in a while so I remember what did I wanted to mention. But what happened there was that you were introduced to people that had some ideas, which opened up your mind to ideas and the possibilities that you might never have thought about if you hadn't been in that class. Is that correct?
Oh, correct. It was so risky. I was probably one of the only engineering students in that room. And so it just made me stand out. And having that, what do you call it? That mindset of that technical mindset of an engineer, it just allowed me to think of different ways and as a regular business student.
Yeah, because you're more like an analytical thinking, right? Then entrepreneurs are usually, for the most part, on average, I'd say, they're dreamers. They're all out there, and the analytical part for me is really kind of non-existent. I'd rather it stay hidden. I don't really want to bring it out too much.
Yeah.
So you, how did you get into engineering, and have you since left engineering?
So I got into engineering because one of the biggest companies here in San Diego was Qualcomm, and that was one of my dreams after college was to work at Qualcomm. And so after I graduated, I had an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering, and after I graduated, I started working for Qualcomm for 2 years. And so that dream kind of came into fruition. But I soon found out that the corporate life wasn't the life for me. And so I just totally missed the lifestyle that you have, like working in a startup, how fast paced it is, no, like little to no red tape to get things done. And yeah, you just have like a huge impact.
What was the name of that first that startup you worked for?
The first startup I worked for is a 3D printer company called Robo 3D. So they're based here in San Diego, and the founders actually went to San Diego State University as well.
And how did you get into that type of job? Like, how did you find them?
So I joined this this college entrepreneur group on campus called Entrepreneur Society, and before I was just a member. Ever since then, I've led that group last year. But when I first joined in as a member, they had these panels where entrepreneurs would come in and talk about their experiences. For example, one of them was talking about launching a Kickstarter campaign, and this company, Robo 3D, got funded through Kickstarter, I think around $600,000 to launch their desktop 3D printers. And so they're faced with the challenge of building 1,000 3D printers, and it was just 3 of them. And so I just volunteered. I was just, you know what, I'm a engineering student. I don't really have experience, but I'm down to help you guys out.
Oh, that's cool. How long did you do that with them?
So I was volunteering for about 3 months, and at the time they didn't have any jobs created for anyone. So I just mentioned it like, hey, can I be like an intern or become an employee? And they said yes, and that's how I became one of the first employees for Robo 3D.
That is so cool. Now, so how long does it take to build, or did you build from start to finish on, or did you guys have an assembly line of 3 people, or what was the process of like making these actual 3D printers?
Well, funny story. So when I first initially met the founders, they told me to go to their headquarters, and so I expected to come into a warehouse, but it turned out it ended up being someone else's garage in Pacific Beach. Oh. And I walked in and I just saw like piles and piles of boxes filled with motors, wires, casings, you name it, just to build the 3D printers. And I was just thinking, like, where are all these 1,000 printers going to go? And so the first few months, I was in the garage, helping them out, put together some wires, the motors, and pretty soon we converted over to a warehouse where we established like an assembly line. So this station would be where we're building like base plates. This station would be where we're going to house like the microcontrollers, and then this is like the overall station where we're going to put everything together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a process. I wore so many hats.
I'm just kind of picturing it. Like, you walk into this, you have no idea what you're walking into, and it's really not what you probably imagined. I'm thinking you imagined it was going to be at least a little bit more organized, maybe at the beginning or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and it reminded me of like the old school days of Apple or Microsoft, how they started out in the garage, and it's just so funny how that whole thing started out in the garage as well.
And I think a lot of companies start off that way. We don't start off with money unless we have money already. But, a lot of us are bootstrapping it and just trying to figure out, like, what's the next piece I'm going to do? What's the next piece I'm going to stick together? And is that kind of like what you do with your startup life hacks, is you help people figure out how they, like, get themselves out there?
Oh, yeah. I'm a firm believer in bootstrapping your business when you start out. I mean, look at me. I'm inside my room. This is my bedroom. This is my office. I got my professional mic here. But yeah, it's just starting out. You don't need like all the capital. You just got to start. You don't need all the features when releasing your product. It's all about the MVP, because your customers are going to ultimately build your product. Because what if you build the features that the customers don't necessarily resonate with? Then you spend all that time and money building those features for nothing. So my suggestion is to build that MVP and then obtain that feedback loop from your customers, and ask them, what do they want? because they're the one purchasing your product.
Yeah, and that's so true, because the saying "build it and they will come" is not always true. It depends on what you're building. But have you talked to your customers first to find out what they want? Because a lot of times, I know that in my journey of the entrepreneurial journey, is at the beginning I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome! People will really want this." And then I developed something and I put it out there, and it's like crickets, 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 because I didn't ask them, what do you want? What do you need? What can I, how can I solve the problems you have? And so it's like switching it around so that you can have a product for people because you've already asked them what they want. And then like ask them how much they're willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like some things I know that I have, like some of the conveniences, modern conveniences, I'm like, oh my God, I would pay thousands of dollars for that, but it maybe only costs $30, because of what it's given me as convenience wise is worth so much more money than they've charged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just crazy. It's just kind of like figuring out what it is that your customers want and then deliver it to them. It's really that simple, right?
Right. It's funny that you mentioned that saying, if you build it, they will come. Because that's the mentality that I had when I first started my first business, which is a mobile gaming company.
Uh-huh.
And so I wanted to build apps when I first started out. Like apps were like the it thing to do. And it wasn't that saturated at the time. But so my strategy on building my app was essentially hire a programmer, hire a designer, and have them build it for me, because I don't really have the time to learn all these different programming languages because I was still at school. Mm-hmm. And so I looked into the second largest search engine on the internet, which is YouTube. And one of the strategies that one of the online mentors that I followed at the time, he suggested, hey, look at one of the highest views on YouTube and create an app on that. And so this is when Miley Cyrus had her VMA thing. Do you remember that?
Was that the twerking thingy?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was that was the highest views on YouTube. And so that's what I did. I created a twerk running app.
A what?
And it was a running app. Yeah, you just collect coin. It was based on a freemium model.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had like a wild idea and I just put it to fruition and it happened. But I had the mindset, like, if you build it, they will come, because obviously they had so many people watching this video on YouTube. I thought I was going to get that same traffic, but I didn't. And that ended up flopping. But hey, I learned a lot. I learned how to outsource and manage people. So yeah, it was an experience. It was a learning experience.
Did you say a twerk running app?
I did.
Now, I didn't ever think I would say the word twerk on one of my shows, but
hey,
there we
it pertains
go.
to business, so
that is so funny. And actually, twerking is almost the same thing as tweaking, but just the letter R is the only difference, really, if you think about it. Yeah.
I mean, they look pretty similar.
Yeah. So you had to tweak what you did. And so did you do any apps after that, or is that like, one and done? I'm okay. Maybe I'll do one later on, but not yet.
Well, I mean, I tried it some like a snowboard game, pretty much the same concept, like a freemium model. Just collect coins, and then you need to purchase packages in order for you to get power-ups. So I did that. I did like a slot machine. They didn't do really well. Okay. At the time, I didn't have the experience of digital marketing, which is what people use nowadays to reach new audiences.
Yeah. You have to do digital marketing, right? Without that, I mean, you can do marketing without it, but for your kind of thing, for an app, I mean, how else are they going to learn about it? You're going to send a mailer. You're going to send something in the mail.
Well, I tried going organically with like friends and family and be like, hey, I created this thing, but it didn't take off.
Yeah.
They're like, what's this twerking app?
But you tried it. You put it out there, and that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I learned.
I'm going to share this picture here. This is a picture. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And is that you on Potato Chip Rock right there?
That is me. That was my attempt doing the Zane pose, but I tried my best.
I've never been up there on Potato Chip Rock, and that actually would be one of the fears that I should face. And So I do have a question. Is it really big where it's not as scary as it looks?
It's not as scary as it looks. I mean, you see some crazy pictures where people are hanging off the edge. Like if it was that high, people are just insane to do that.
Yeah, I've seen people doing handstands on it, headstands, all kinds of, and I'm like, heck no. I mean, just getting up there would be scary for me, but doing that, no way. So I want to talk about this here.
That's me.
That is you. And this is, I don't want to repeat it because I can't remember exactly what you said as far as a men's physique competition.
This is the men's physique competition. This is my first competition ever with my shirt off in front of the stage, in front of everyone.
And you have your trophy covering your body. What's up with that?
I don't know, man. I just kept it to myself.
So how did you apply what you learned from competing in this competition to entrepreneurship?
Right. So before this competition, I read this book called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. About that book?
Okay. I haven't heard of it.
So essentially that book, what that talks about is the idea of the compound effect, and that you do small stuff every single day and it'll amount to something great. And so during this competition, you know, I knew that it wasn't going to be like, oh, tomorrow I'm going to have 6-pack abs. No, it's like little stuff that you do every single day. Like you do 1 hour at the gym, you eat right, you track it, and you're not going to see progress until like, 2-3 weeks. And then what I actually did was take photos of my shirt off every single day in front of this exact room, just to prove to myself, you know what, I'm not comparing myself to all these Instagram bodybuilders. I'm comparing myself to what I was yesterday and improving that. Yeah. And so I applied the same thing in entrepreneurship, where if I want to, for example, obtain a new skill, I know that's going to be hard because I haven't done it before, but I'm just going to go out there and do it and improve every single day. And pretty soon I'll be a master at that tool. Or Facebook Live, for example. I know you do this every day, so you're a master at this. Master Facebook Live queen.
Yeah. And that's so true. Denise says Slight Edge, great book. See, I haven't heard of that one. So thanks for introducing us to that. That's a good point. As far as when I first did my very first video, I was terrified. I was shaking. I only did it because, somebody asked me to do it, who I just, adore, and asked me if I would do it. And so I did it. And then after that, he asked me if I would do it every single day. If he hadn't asked me that, I wouldn't have done so many videos. I've done over 3,000 videos in 3 years. And
wow.
And that's all because of a promise I made to a person. But what it did is it really increased my confidence level. If things don't go wrong, they don't faze me at all. I just figure it out. And that's one thing about entrepreneurship, right? It's like not everything is going to go the way you plan, because maybe your plan isn't right. And if you're seeking counsel from people who know what they're doing, then they can at least help you circumvent some of the mistakes, but you'll still make mistakes. And it's okay. You just make the mistakes, you learn from it, and you go on. Now, you might make the same mistake again, and that's okay. But make sure you learn a little bit more from it, and then just keep going on and tweaking all along the way.
Twerking. You said it again.
That was intentional, by the way.
I see what you did there.
Hey, so I want to talk about this. This is San Diego Startup Week, and I didn't meet you at that event, but I met you shortly after it. So can you let us know, what is San Diego Startup Week, and what was your involvement with it?
So San Diego Startup Week is a huge event in San Diego held by the nonprofit Startup SD. And so what they do is essentially hold events such as San Diego Startup Week, where they bring together entrepreneurs, founders, investors, designers, coders, all in one place for them to kind of connect and grow with each other and network. So Startup SD, this is the third year actually attending San Diego Startup Week. And the first two years I was an attendee, but this is the first year where I've actually volunteered and helped out the organization to put this San Diego Startup Week together.
And how did that, did you learn stuff from that? And if so, can you share any like juicy details?
Juicy details. Well, since I was volunteering for the organization, I was, constantly, being surrounded by, great minds. Like everyone who volunteers, they're either like a CEO, business owner, who've had exits in startups in the past. And so just being around those type of people, like just elevates you even further and, makes you want to accomplish your goals. So that was the benefit of volunteering for Startup SD. And I'll do it again next year.
That's cool. And then what was your involvement exactly? Did you have a title, or like you were a volunteer, but did you have a certain like a certain area that you headed up, or how did that work for you?
So this year, I wanted to concentrate on improving my skills in video. And so during Startup Week, I was, with the video production team. I was in WeWork, helping out with the interviews with the other startups. Mm-hmm. During the startup fair, I was actually conducting my own interviews with the different booths, the startup founders, asking them, what got them involved in Startup SD, what's their favorite ice cream, just little short questions like that.
That's cool. I actually, so I went to the event, and I'm not really comfortable in those types of events. And I'm actually, a lot of people don't believe me, but I'm actually a very shy person. And when I'm in a situation, I'm okay, but it's like getting me to that situation is tough. So I thought, okay, I'm here at this event. I really don't know what to do. I don't really like going around meeting new people because it just makes me nervous. And so what can I do? Oh, I'll just interview people. So I walked around for 2.5 hours with my phone, interviewing people with my selfie stick, and I interviewed 14 people that day. And it was so cool because I got to do what I love to do most, which is, do videos. But I also got to introduce 14 people, to the people that follow me, as well as I got to meet 14 people. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't threatening. Like, networking is kind of a weird dynamic because a lot of people want to like throw stuff at you, and I'm not into that at all. So this was a way for me to network, and I thought it was really great. I can't wait till next year's. I've never been, and I know they've done it for a few years, right? You said 3 years, I think? This
is the 5th year they've had it running.
5th year. And I'd never been, and now I'm excited to go to next year's to challenge myself again, to put myself out there in a different way. So I think it's a great event.
Oh,
so
of
now
course.
we wanted to talk about, entrepreneurship advice, right? So what is the single biggest piece of advice that you want to give somebody who's starting up in entrepreneurship?
The single biggest advice. Get comfortable about being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
that's where the magic happens. Kind of like what you're saying, like what scares you the most is probably the direction that you're supposed to be, because that's the only way you're going to be growing.
So true. Oh my God. I don't know if you knew this, but in 2015, every year I try to do something a little bit different. So in 2015, I decided every day I was going to step out of my comfort zone just a little bit and do something that scared me. Mm-hmm. And so I'd wake up in the morning and I'd say, what am I going to do today that is going to be a little bit scary? And so I kept myself in that state of uncomfort the entire year. And what ended up happening is my uncomfort zone kind of became my comfort zone. So it's
it grew.
Yeah. It's like it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And now I like to say like when I help people with videos and bring them into the video world, is I like to bring them into my comfort zone so that it relieves their pressure of being out of their comfort zone. It's so amazing. I love it. I love it. It's so much fun.
Like for example, today, like I just launched my YouTube channel. I just published my very first video. Woo-hoo! And I was just and I was just so uncomfortable because I'm not used to speaking in front of the camera. I'm usually the guy behind the camera or like conducting the interviews. But for me, like, I don't know, I recorded it last night at like 2:00 in the morning. Everyone else was sleeping. And so it was just me by myself in a room and just yelling. And I don't even know what they were thinking, but I just did it.
That's awesome. So your YouTube channel, is it branded yet? Or like, did you have enough?
It's my name. It's just Rommel Cabal.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's just youtube.com/Rommel Cabal, like that?
Not yet, because in order for you to get your own custom URL, you have to get 100 subscribers first.
100 subscribers. Yeah. I'm at
Yeah.
89. It's taken a long time for me to get to 89, but yeah, I'm working on it. Okay. So they can search, can they search for your name though in YouTube?
They should.
I'm not sure how to do that. So, okay, you guys go check out his his YouTube. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Go check out his YouTube channel, Rommel Cabal. And
I'm
then
going behind the scenes on startup community. I recorded every day of Startup Week, including Tijuana Startup Call. I recorded all of that. So those are going to get published. Also, my travels to the Philippines, going back to my roots.
Oh, that's awesome. Was that your first time to the Philippines?
I was actually born there.
Oh, you were born. Okay. And then when did you leave?
So I got here around when I was 2 to 3 years old. And I have been raised here in San Diego, which is why I love San Diego so much and want to, give back however much I can. But I've been back, I believe, 3 times since, and the last time was my 3rd time.
That's awesome. And what's your favorite part about going back to the Philippines? I know there's family and stuff, but let's say besides that, what's your favorite part of the Philippines?
Favorite part? Everyone's just so happy. It's like the happiest place there. People say it's Disneyland, but no, it's the Philippines. Like people just greet you, they're just happy to see you, and you're just so friendly.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of people who are Filipino, and I just love like you said, they're just always so happy, like just having an uplifting personality and attitude. Yeah, it's awesome.
So optimistic.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Now you wanted to share with me LIT.
LIT, yes.
Yeah. So what is it? Learn, implement, and teach. So tell us all about that.
Right. So I work with a lot of young entrepreneurs. I used to lead the Entrepreneur Society as the vice president. And so I wanted something where it resonates with the younger audience. And if you hang around with a lot of younger people, they say like, oh, this is lit, or this party is lit. And usually that means like, oh, this party is, how do I say it without saying lit? It's poppin', or it's so
it's a good thing.
Live. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I wanted to create that as an acronym. And so I came up with the idea of, learn, or the best way to obtain a skill is to learn, implement, and teach. And so learning could be in the form of listening to podcasts, watching YouTube, reading, or, learning from a mentor. Implement is that, you got to take action on what you've learned in order for you to, actually know what you're talking about. And teach, teach it to someone else. That's the true validity of, if you actually know what you're talking about. So learn, implement, teach. Lit.
That's for sure. Because you can learn all you want. You're the student at that point, right? But then once you become the teacher is when you really get to put into motion all the things you've learned, and you get to see, did you really learn it? Yeah. If you can't teach it, did you really learn it? Because like there's something we call a shelf development, is when you attend a lot of events, a lot of trainings and stuff. And then you come home from the event, and then the books all go back on your shelf, and you don't ever look at them again. That's shelf development. And so you can learn all you want, but if you're not implementing, then that really is the value of what you've learned. So you have to implement. But teaching people is a sure way to have it like ingrained into your brain even stronger, is by teaching them. So do you like teaching?
Oh yeah, just pass down the knowledge. Like I don't want to be selfish and keep all this knowledge to myself. Like I want to help more people, get to where they want to be using, the tools and resources that I've learned and have acquired throughout the years. And so, yeah, I really do believe in giving back and teaching others.
Yeah, I do too. So now today you launched your business, Startup Life Hacks. Now let's talk about, no? Close?
Oh no, it's been live. I launched the YouTube channel today.
Yeah, you launched the YouTube channel today. So I want to talk about this just briefly, because launching is an interesting word. Launching, it takes a lot of work to get to the launch point. And a lot of times what'll happen in businesses is that they'll be running their business, and then like for my business, it was like, months and months later that I actually did a launch, an official launch. So have you been running startup life hacks along the way, and then now you decide like, now I'm going to actually officially launch it, or what? I'm not sure what question.
Yeah, so I'm about to relaunch the podcast because like originally the podcast, what I was doing with that is I interview startup founders and entrepreneurs around San Diego, and it's like one episode of me interviewing that one person. So since then, I pivoted and only concentrate on one startup and doing 5 or 6 episodes, and it'll be a different format where it's like narrative, storytelling, and journalism. Pretty much like the NPR style episodes. There's not enough podcasts like that in the market, which is why I wanted to go that route.
So you'll take that one startup and just like look at the different phases with them?
Yeah, different phases, give live updates as to where they are, and, just revealing everything that happens inside the startup, like the failures, the wins. The failures, the wins, and everything in between.
That's so valuable because, we learn from failures to, we learn from our wins too, of course. But, our failures is where we are like, we got to step back and say, okay, that really wasn't a failure, but that's a learning lesson. It's time for me to take a look at that, break it down, and see what I could have done differently, and make a change, and then tweak. I can't help it. Tweak it and then make it different. And, like I had a huge lesson with that. I don't know if I told you about this, Rommel, but when I first left corporate, because I was in corporate for 35 years, but when I left corporate, I embarked on putting on a huge event, a big fundraising event. I did fundraising for 12 years prior to this, but I decided I was going to go big and like put on a really big event. And I lost or spent or educated or whatever words I want to use at the time, $70,000 on one event. But you know what? I learned more than I would have learned had I gone in just a little bit. And it was a huge learning lesson. My next event, I only lost 10,000. So I had a 700% increase.
There you go.
So anyway, I learned, right? And then it's like you learn from the things that aren't going right. And now I've learned even more from that one, what I need to do differently and change. And it's not like I made a money, because trust me, I'm not made of money. But, I had some money and I was able to use it and put myself out there. But, just like learning those lessons along the way, those were the most valuable, because if everything had been perfect, I don't know if I would have learned as much as I needed to learn, because it could have been perfect just because the stars were aligned. I don't know, but
yeah, so you've learned, you've implemented what you needed to change, and then now you got to teach it. So teach me.
Yeah. Okay. You got it. I know we're working on the event MSB, for 2018 with Stagila Success Mastery. And that's going to be another learning curve for both of us. Like you had Startup Week, and then I've had my events, and, pulling our knowledge together with the knowledge of the rest of the team is going to be awesome.
Oh yeah. We're going to have some great speakers too. I remember you told me Greg Reed is going to be there. We have the founder of Chuck E. Cheese. Who else? Make-A-Wish Foundation, the founder of that.
The guy who invented the back of the credit card strip,
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, I think of him like, this isn't the same, but, thinking of like the back of the credit card strip, that strip, like how much that changed the way we operated. And, back in the old days, we would have to swipe our credit cards on this machine, and then we would, then it was like 2 or 3 weeks behind as far as like knowing if somebody was late on their payments or things like that. So you wouldn't know for 3 weeks if somebody was actually a risk or not. So you would swipe their credit card, or I'm sorry, you would swipe their credit card and hope there was money. You would just hope that there was money in there. It was crazy. So what he did is he made it so that we could like instantly, it led to this instantly like know if somebody had money available in their account or not.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So you just think
That's
about like
huge.
that mind, right? Like, how does somebody think that way? I don't know. I don't get it. But
See,
he's so
it's
awesome.
it's like a muscle coming up with these ideas. Like I know
Yeah.
for Wednesdays, what we do is do what if Wednesdays, right? Like, what if this business happened, or what if I try to solve this problem? You never know what would happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, what ifs, or like, I think a lot of people probably have what ifs, probably most people have what ifs, but do they act on them, right? So, it's not like act on every single what if you have, but it's cool because talking about startups is that if you have an idea and then you go to implement it, you're then in startup mode on that new idea. Then you have another idea, a week later, if you get implemented on that one, then you're in startup mode again. And like you're always in startup mode, but it's so exciting to have an idea, put it out there, and see that people are actually interested in it, right? It's like nothing.
I love
like
the fast pace of startups.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear your blog. And are you going? So the blog, I'm sorry, not the blog, the podcast. So the podcast, are you going to do it as a vlog as well, or will it be only on podcast?
It'll be only on audio. So the podcast and the vlog is two separate things.
Okay, so
but I will mention the podcast in the vlog as well, like because the vlog is more of like me telling the story of my life as a solopreneur and doing all these things. And so I'll show you behind the scenes of how I'm doing the podcast. But as far as like the final version of the content, it'll be on iTunes or Google Play.
Oh, that's fun. I love that. That's a great idea. So what is the name of the podcast? Is it Startup
It's called
Life Hacks?
Startup Life Hacks. Yeah.
Okay. And then you said it'll be on which ones? Google Play or what? Google
Play, the podcast app for iTunes, and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay. I gotta I'm like way behind the times on podcasting, so I have no idea where you find that stuff. Is it like Audible? Can you find it on Audible?
Not on Audible.
Okay.
Although that's a good idea. What if podcasts were on Audible? I don't know.
I just assumed they were. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea what I'm talking about. So, Rommel, thank you so much for being here today, and
thank you
really
for having me.
It. It's we didn't talk about like who is it that you help, like because the entrepreneur program at the school, and are you helping the school, or what are you doing, or who are you helping? Yeah,
so like the startups that I interview for the podcast, the new format, I have about 5 seasons already online, and so I'm helping them out as well with their business, digital marketing, and just all the young entrepreneurs that just want to get started and don't know where to get started, just help guide them.
Yeah, that's so valuable because you can flail around trying to figure it out yourself, or you can go to somebody like Rommel who knows what it's like and can help you, save a lot of time and heartache and money and aggravation and all those things that I know very well about because I didn't reach out to someone like you at the beginning. And, my journey to coaches and mentors was much later, about 1.5 to 2 years into my journey. So I spent the first 1.5 to 2 years just kind of like trying to figure it out my own. And boy, I don't kick myself for it because I did learn a lot, but I also love to encourage people to find somebody that can help them find the answers and can help them save a lot of time and aggravation for sure. Yeah.
Right. So, totally agree.
So reach out to Rommel. So Rommel, I'm going to end it this way. There we go.
That's me with my shirt off.
That's so awesome. Yeah, who's the woman there with you?
That's one of my friends. Her name is May. She actually got first place.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. Let's see here. There we go. So this Be Live, you can do all kinds of different angles and views. It's a lot of fun. I love it. You should check it out.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for being here, Rommel, and you have a great day. And I'll see you tonight at Success Circle.
Yes, I will see you later. And thank you for joining in, whoever chimed in on this live feed. So thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye.